All right, folks, welcome to our live webinar today. We're doing an interview with one of our business owners, Margaret Keane. And so I just wanted to kind of, first of all, introduce myself, make sure that you guys can hear me. I think the next slide here kind of indicates that we have a Q&A button. So while I'm saying that, I'm going to actually open that up on my screen here so I can see that. There's also a chat window that you can say things to me in there if you want to. And if you want to ask a question during the webinar, just think of it as you typing in the question directly to Margaret. And, she and I together, we'll make sure you get the answer to your question there. Let's see, while I'm doing that and asking that, why don't we do this? Let's see if some of you can actually type something in there for me so that I can actually see that. Now, I guess I've got my participant. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I see some of the names here. Barbara, I see you. I see Cynthia. There's a Danny here today. There's Frank, James, Jonesy, Nevin, Shirley, Seema, yeah, and Simi. Okay, well, so if some of you will say, oh, some of you are typing in the chat window. Great, thank you. I see your notes there from James and Danny, Jonesy, Barbara, thank you. Frank says hello, Cynthia, good. Okay, well, that means that you're hearing the sound of my voice, and that's very good. Folks, my wife and I started this business 28 years ago. Yeah, 1994, we started actually licensing other people to use the methods that we had developed to build our billing business. So a few years before that, I think it was 87, my wife started doing medical billing for a fellow who was in the medical equipment company. And so she started doing billing for him, learned about it. We learned what it took to go out and find other clients. We built our business. And then by 1994, we developed a whole system as to how to teach other people to do it. In fact, of course, the main thing that we taught was how do you get a client? And so we're going to talk about that today, but we'll also ask a lot of questions here to Margaret as we go through. Basically, our system that we use and that we teach people to use is a cloud-based system. That means it doesn't reside on your computer or any of your equipment, your phone, your iPad. It's in the cloud. And that means just like you go and can do banking from your phone or your iPad or your computer, you can also do medical billing using our system, which was developed specifically for running across an internet browser. So any browser, it doesn't matter if it's a Windows computer, a Mac computer, or any kind. And so it's more about our system, of course, on the website. If you haven't gone to absystems.com, there it is at the bottom of the screen. You need to go and read more about everything that we have. These are other services, by the way, that are included. Now, ours is like a franchise. So if you go and look for franchises, you'll see that you have to pay what they call a franchise fee, in addition to a building, equipment, merchandise, inventory, employees, all kinds of other expenses. We have nothing but the fee, which we call a licensing fee, because you're licensing, our system to use it. And all of our marketing materials and ideas, that's all licensed to you as well. It's all a one-time fee of $28,990. That's, well, we'll round it. It's $29,000, let's face it. And folks, that's one of the lowest fees that you'll find for starting a business. And with basically one doctor, you could be earning that back. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Margaret. These other services are all included. There's no additional charge for anything, including support. It's lifetime support, ongoing training, new services that we introduce. There's no charge ever for any of that. I didn't want to nickel and dime people to death. So if you want to find out more about me, just go out to Amazon. You can search for any of these 3 books you see right here on the screen: How to Reprogram Yourself for Success, The New Thriving Medical Practice, which I co-authored with Dr. Vicki Ratner, and Cash Crunch to Cash Flow. I'm also on the editorial board of a magazine it's a print magazine. They still print them, yeah. 40,000 subscription. A lot of people, anybody who's in billing and coding subscribes to BC Advantage magazine. And I have articles in that, of course, on a regular basis as well. So with all that out of the way, let's get started and see if we can get Margaret to get on here with us. We were chatting earlier, and Margaret, you still with us? There she is.
I am. Hi.
All right. Well, Margaret, thank you for taking out time from your Wow, I didn't even realize how busy you are right now.
I am very busy.
This is big. Now
Good thing. Good
you're
thing.
in New Mexico, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that is that mountain time?
Yes, we are mountain time. So
Okay,
it's
so
early
you're an hour ahead of us. I mean, behind us.
behind you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and you've been really gracious in sharing your story with us and wanting to share it with other people. This webinar is usually for people who are looking to get into this business, and so that's why we have the question box open there for people to ask you questions. Folks, this is your opportunity to talk to a real person who is really involved in the business, and we're going to ask her about how she got started and so forth as we go along here. But you're welcome to type any questions you want to in there. If you tap in, please tell us, how much money you have in the bank and what's your account number. We will not ask that question. I just want you to know ahead of time. But other than that, we're pretty wide open on helping you to wrap your head around this business and see whether this is right for you. It's not for everybody, is it? Wouldn't you agree, Margaret? It's not for everybody.
Yeah. Nope.
I mean,
I
depends on their lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah. You really. I guess if you're not, if you're meant to be working outside, maybe this wouldn't be for you. Some people really like working outside. Some people want to be fishermen. Like this wouldn't be for you.
Yeah.
But
But you're at your home right now, I guess, right?
I am at my home. Yes.
Have you
And
ever have you ever thought about opening an office?
well, we do have an office because we have another business. But
Oh,
I've got my shorts on underneath this nice blouse that I have on and my flip flops. So why do I want to get dressed any more than I have to? Thank you.
boy, that's the way with me now. You can't see my logo, but I have a corporate shirt on here. I look very corporate, but I'm here in my home office. My wife is in fixing some lunch for me, and you know what? I love it because I have on my sweatpants right now too. All right. Well, so I'm going to start by letting you kind of tell your story, if you want to, Margaret, about, first of all, tell us what you were doing before you got into this business and why you chose this business.
Okay, so my husband and I, we lived in Hawaii, and it was time to move back to the mainland, and so we started a security company because he was already in the security business. So I was his support team. I did everything from billing and proposals and you name it, I did it. So we started that company, and then I decided I took a leave of absence after having baby number 5. It was just too much to be working, and then they've all graduated and moved off. And I met a gal. We went to an event, and I met this gal, and she was a medical biller, and she had a second home in Fiji. And I thought, hey, I want a home in Fiji. So I was looking into, well, golly, I mean, my husband busts his behind every day, and we can't afford a house in Fiji. So maybe medical billing is the way to go. And that's how that was the seed that was planted. And so from there, I just looked at different ways. And so since we already started a company, and I know that was long and hard, and it was costly, and every mistake you make is a killer, financially. And so I thought there's just no way I wanted to start another company, that I just didn't have the energy or the time or the financial means to do that. So when I found this, I'm thinking, wow, this is a way for me to start my own business, but not be in business, my own business, but not by myself. So it was really the answer that I was looking for.
Yeah, a lot of people have started their own medical billing business. My wife and I did, but we didn't know what we were doing, and it took us several years to really get up and going. Now I
Right.
know you struggled there at first because you had some other things going on in addition to COVID, of course, coming up. But tell us about that, because you started, and then what happened?
So I put things on. So my daughter was expecting; she was going to be my partner, and it was really about me. And oh, thank you. So now I can just like this is let's just say it was a means for us all to be able to work from home and care for our children, and mine are adults. But my oldest son is physically and mentally handicapped, and it's always a challenge between caretakers for him. And so I could lose a job at any moment if I had to go to a 9 to 5 job. So I had to have something that was flexible. So this was, I'm sorry, it's kind of losing my place. This was, so I was, Danny was expecting, she wanted me to do this before she had the baby. So at the last minute, like I'm rushing in, trying to get all the logistics worked out and seeing if they had room at the hotel. And we got training in, and I went through training and finished that. And then I really put it on the back burner for a year. And so after we took a trip to Hawaii, and after that, I'm like, okay, let's get this ball rolling. That was September of 2019. By March 2020, everything was shutting down. And
Yeah, COVID hit. Yeah.
like, oy vey.
Wow.
But it really was, not at first, but shortly after that time, I got my first client because everybody's working from home, and it was a great opportunity for our industry for doctors to realize they have to do this a different way. People aren't going to be able to, they're doing telehealth visits. They're going to have their staff work from home. There was no way around. They just weren't having people come in, especially right around, April, May, June of 2020. It wasn't good. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew how long this was going to last. And it just kind of kept getting worse from there, if you recall.
Yes, it did. And well, you're right. I hadn't thought about it until I saw a note from you to one of our support people. I kind of get copied on a lot of things, and you said something about the fact that the COVID really was one of the best things that could happen to a business like this, because doctors even have a problem finding people to come in and do their billing, don't they?
Right. And so even though COVID, things are opening up, doctors' offices, everything, I still, here in New Mexico, there is a labor shortage. And I see ad after ad after ad, like running constantly. We're looking for a biller, And so I have a call in with a urgent care facility, and they have a lot of locations. But even if it's like, hey, give me 1 or 2 locations until you can find the staff you need, and let me take this off your hand, and hopefully I could do a good enough job where they will just consider turning over everything. But there's a labor shortage, and I don't know about Texas and everywhere else, but it is hitting hard in New Mexico.
I don't know of hardly any business that doesn't have a sign up on the front door hiring. It's just incredible. I don't know where people went during the COVID, but maybe a lot of people started their own business, but there's not a lot of employees ready to work out there right now.
There's not. Yeah. So
now, speaking of your family, can you share with me? You sent this picture. Who is this, and what's going on here?
So that's Danielle. She's baby number 4. We have 5. And you can't tell in this picture, but she's got a belly. I mean, she's a tiny little girl to begin with. She's all of 120 pounds, 9 months pregnant. But she's ready to have her first baby there. And she just had her 3rd baby. So that was our very first check. And I'm handing it over to her. So it was a fun day. That was our first.
Is she actually working with you now, or I guess not now? She just had
another. Well, no, she is. Matter of fact, I called her while she was in labor and delivery to ask her a question about a claim she submitted. So, yeah, she is working, and she puts her babies down for naps or bedtime, and she does all the clean claims. I do all the difficult stuff, a lot of the follow up, and whatnot. So she looks like she's all of 18, but she's 27.
She does look real young there. Well, that's great. So I've had other licensees send me checks that were for the setup fee that they would charge the doctor. Is this just a regular payment?
That's a regular payment. Yeah, that's after I do my billing to my clients every 2 weeks, because it kind of gives me an indication if they're going to be good payers, slow payers, where I'm going to be at, and I don't want to get a month or 2 down the road and realize I might have a problem. So that every 2 weeks. Yeah,
I know a lot of our business owners will set it up with the doctor where they can actually just ACH their bank account. They'll say, here's a report that shows what we did for you and how much it's going to be. And if you don't argue this within 5 days, we're going to take this out of your bank checking account. Yeah.
And if I ended up having an issue, that would be my next step, because I will pause immediately if it's beyond the 5 days.
Yeah. There's no reason for people not to pay it, because you can give them access, if you wanted to, directly into the system to see the status of the claims, couldn't you?
Right. Yeah. They know at any time what revenue has come in. So
Yeah.
it's not, I've never had a problem. I'm grateful, but I think I make it very clear that I'm not playing around. I'm getting you your money. You have a cash flow. I have cash flow. We all need to keep it going. We have people to pay. So,
Yeah. Here's a question that's already come in from Simi. Let's see. She says, I'm really interested in this business. Do you think I can do it by myself solo with no partnership for now?
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'd be doing this by myself, but, I'm employing my daughter. She wants to supplement her husband's income. They just bought a house. They just had baby number three. So yeah, absolutely, this is doable. If I have any more, I would definitely need help. But I still could do this by myself if I needed to.
Yeah. Now you said you signed up your first client there just shortly after you got started there. But what type of doctor or practice was that?
That was my very first, and he actually was an acupuncturist, and he has a practice up in Santa Fe and one in Albuquerque, and I was just doing the Albuquerque location.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that they bill for insurance, don't they?
They do, yeah. And he actually had a very good reimbursement rate. He was probably getting $100 per visit.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I looked at my primary for my physical the other day, I think he got it reimbursed $89, and I've got great insurance. So, the clinicians that I bill for, the average is about $122 a claim reimbursement rate.
How much?
122,
122.
36. So
Yeah.
between 110 and 122.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so that was your first one. Now, what about the second client? What type of practice was that?
She was mental health. So I've really kind of gotten into this niche of mental health. Um, and at first didn't think I was gonna, I'm looking for that neurologist, of course, or, cardiologist, thinking these big claims. But I'm telling you that mental health is a very simple practice to get your feet wet in. And you really can't screw it up too much because there's not a lot of codes. Other than knowing your modifiers for telehealth, there's really nothing else to know. And the reimbursement rate was high. So it's a great place to start. And especially if you're learning and learning the lingo, learning who you need to talk to if there's issues, it really is a good place to start because it's not that
Now,
complicated.
I don't remember. I've kind of basically I'm always thinking ahead here, so I may have not tuned in. How did you find that first client?
Craigslist.
At where?
Craigslist.
Oh, Craigslist. Yes.
My
So you're
first and
following.
my second client were both Craiglists.
Okay. Well, so it actually works, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
did for me.
That's one of the marketing methods that we teach folks, if you're wondering, is to go out and find ads on Craigslist and other places that doctors advertise for help. If they're looking for help, then they need help and you're the help.
Right. And then we just talked about, we kind of morph it into subcontracting and it worked for me.
Yeah.
It's good.
Now, okay, so let's jump ahead now and tell us about your third client that you just recently signed up, right?
Mhm.
Back in February.
Yes. We started in February. So originally, I'll show you a little picture. We have a little flyer with our company can you see that? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, is that a postcard type
It is
thing?
a postcard, just lists our services on the back. And every time a practice opens, we send it in the mail. And she called because her biller was going through nursing school and she knew she was going to lose her. And so she called probably around October and we talked and I told her, I was like, she asked me what my rate was and she's kind of looking for a deal. And I thought it was just her or one other. And she said, I have 16 providers. And I'm like, oh, for sure we can work something out. I'm more than happy to give you a little discount.
Yeah.
So she said, well, I'm still looking at whether I'm going to do an in-house traditional employee versus, looking to subcontract. And so I didn't hear from her. And then January, she reached out to my webpage, sent me an email, and I missed it. I never saw it. And so she called. I know that was terrible, wasn't it? And so she called and I said, hey, I am really swamped there. I'd love to come talk to you, but I couldn't even start till February. And so I went in and signed the contract that day, and we started. Actually, I met with her January 31st, and we started February 1st.
Oh, wow. I bet she was thrilled that you took her on that quickly.
Well, and you know that the interesting, she really sounded like she was on the ball. She knew really where her practice was, where things were, and she didn't quite know what she thought she did. So there's been some cleanup issues. The biller before me, she was just posting denials and not investigating why they weren't paying. And so we have a little bit of a cleanup, but hey, we're doing a little over 300 claims a week, so it's good.
Yes, it must be. And you said she added on, and now that she has 20?
She has
providers?
20 now. Now she has 20, yes. And she just hired a doctor, and I'm thinking it's for, she just hired her. And so I haven't seen her credentials really yet. She's supposed to be starting on, and I'm not sure if it's for prescription so that she can prescribe. I'm not sure exactly, but that'll be another one.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
so you sent out that little postcard. How did you know that she had just opened up?
Well, so every time I'm driving around, whatever I'm doing, I see things going up, or so I actually saw a sign for that facility going in. And I just realized my husband, our other company, we do the monitoring for a mental health facility. So I'm going to be sending them one of my postcards. I'm like, hey, they're mental health.
Yeah, there
So
you
they'll be getting
go.
a postcard too. So you just look everywhere, wherever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never.
People don't realize sometimes they think too small. They think of their general practitioner or maybe their heart doctor or something like that. But there are dozens of specialties out there that you can
Right.
go for.
Yeah.
And we've had licensees kind of specialize in maybe podiatry or something because that was the first doctor they signed up. Well, the referrals that come from doctors usually come the same, type of doctors. So you might become the podiatrist billing specialist and not even realize that you are going to become that.
Right. And I really like it, this mental health, because again, it's so easy. I don't I don't get bogged down and don't have to worry about mistakes. It's very simple, very quick. Danny goes through those kinds, and it's perfect for her being home with all these babies. And so she tells me, she's like, I can get that done in 15 minutes. I'm like, hey, I'm paying you too much. We can get that done in 15 minutes. So she's like, well, what I meant to say was, so.
Now, you mentioned giving a special deal because she had a certain number of doctors. Kind of explain to people who are brand new to this, how do you get paid? What is it, per claim or a percentage, or what's the deal?
Total revenue, whatever her total revenue is, deduct. So we might bill $135 claim, and let's say the insurance is paying 122 of that, and then there might be a copay of $25 or a co-insurance or a deductible. Some people at the beginning of the year, they haven't met their deductible, so they have to pay the claim. So whatever the total revenue is, my going rate is 7%, but I did bring it down to 6% for her.
Yeah, and sometimes for the volume, you'll do that, obviously, but yeah. So folks, normally it's anywhere from 6 to 8, 9%. Just depends on the type of doctor and then the volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you're getting a practice that has 20 providers, they're going to want a little. They could shop around. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to be greedy.
Yeah.
Get the business, and then if things pick up or you find it's a little bit more than you anticipated, you could always renegotiate and say, hey, this is, you've really kind of led me to believe that everything was clean, and it's not. So I'm either going to have to charge you an hourly rate when I'm doing this, working on your credentialing, or and then we'll just keep the regular rate for the clean claims going out. It's always negotiable.
Yeah, it's everything's individual, right? Depends on the doctor.
Right.
Danny asks, what is the process in acquiring clients? Are leads provided by ABS? Well, when people say are leads provided, I think they're wanting to know, are there doctors who have contacted us and said, hey, we need a medical biller? That just doesn't happen. Doctors don't do that. They either have their own biller in-house or they just basically go online and ask maybe some other doctors, who are you using to do your billing?
Right, which is
So,
word of mouth. Yeah, they all talk, right? Accountants
yeah.
are all together, lawyers are all together, doctors are all together.
Yeah, so folks, if we had doctors calling us saying that they wanted to sign up, we would just sign them up and do the billing here. But ABS has never done the billing since my wife and I did it first, but we got rid of all of our accounts, sold them, and got out of the billing business because we don't want to compete, with our business owners like Margaret. So all
Yeah,
we
that
do
wouldn't have been
now,
good.
what's that?
That wouldn't have been good.
No. So all we do now is we support Margaret and other business owners. That's all included in that license fee, and it's for life. Hopefully we're here for another 28 years. But he also says, may you also go over what the service or product is. So again, for people who didn't do any research on our website, Margaret, kind of explain the fact that you're doing the billing for the doctor. How do you get all the information from them, for example?
So it's there in the system. So they are, when they make an appointment, it's populated into the system. And then we go into the billing section of that, and I can see the patient's name, all the demographic information. I'm just checking to make sure, one, for this particular practice, we have to just make sure that the notes are signed, that the clinician has signed their soap notes so that we can generate the invoice and make sure everything pop, and you hit a button at the end.
Yeah, you just hit a button and there it is. It's done.
That's it. And off it goes to the clearinghouse, and the clearinghouse sends it to the payer pays it or rejects it. If it's rejected, it comes back. You might have to fix something. Maybe there was so typically everything's already inputted. So like their ID numbers are in there, their insurance card number is already in there. If there was a typo, then you just have to fix that. And then it goes, if there's a denial, that's a different story. A patient's insurance might have terminated. And so that's another issue, but everything's there. Really, it does only take Danny 15 minutes to do 300 claims.
Yeah, Danny, when my wife and I started, of course, the doctors were doing everything on paper. We would actually literally go by each week to each office and pick up a big envelope of all the, paperwork, new patient information forms and stuff like that. Now, as Margaret indicated, you can give them access to the system to where they can use the scheduler and schedule their appointments and put in all the demographic information about each new patient. So it's like she said, then she just goes in and it's already there, and she just puts in the codes that are necessary to bill that particular claim.
Right. Oh, I lost your audio.
Good
There.
thing I have a mute button, huh? Every once in a while I have to cough, so I always mute myself. Okay, let's see. Oh, Jasmine says, I love it. I guess she just loves the thought that she could do this business herself out of her own home. Let's see. This is from Nancy. She says, what does clean claims mean, please?
So a clean claim, there's no problems with the claim. All the demographic data has been inputted correctly. There are no typos, because if you transpose a number, if it's a 4-1 and it's supposed to be 1-4, they're not going to find that patient. And they're going to say, we don't know who this is. So what do you have wrong, Margaret? If something's wrong on this piece of paper, we can't find the patient to pay the bill. So a clean claim, all the demographics are there. We have all our diagnosis codes are correct. All our CPT codes, and they're populating that. They're already populating the diagnosis. I certainly can't do that. I'm not a doctor. You can't change any CPT codes, procedure codes. What did they do for the patient? Because you'd be in a lot of trouble. You could change it if you ask the doctor. So these codes come in, they're already there. You are just checking to make sure there's no boxes missing. And that's a clean claim. So it goes off, there's not a problem. It's accepted for adjudication, and then the payer pays. So that's a clean claim. Oh, you muted again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what your rejection rate has been. Do you have
Oh,
any idea percentage wise? It's low or?
so occasionally, yes, it's very low. Occasionally I'll get a rejection, and it's usually the front desk because they've made a mistake. Uh, I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is when a patient has two insurance companies, and then you have who's the primary, who's the secondary, and they ask the patient as if the patient knows. Nobody knows their insurance, or we would,
No.
I don't even know my insurance for like what
Right.
I covered for. So that's probably the biggest mistake I get. And so it's just a rejection. We just need to fix it, put it in the right order. I'm going to bill United instead of Blue Cross Blue Shield. And yeah, that's probably, so my rejection rate, it's a correctable thing. Denials are a little different. And usually if I have a denial, that's because the patient's insurance termed, and then there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. Now, most people don't realize, but nationwide, most insurance, I should say, the software that does the billing and the clearinghouse behind those softwares have sometimes a 20 or 30% rejection rate. I don't know if you found that with some of the doctors you've signed up, but they'll tell you, hey, I've got a huge rejection rate and I don't know why. And like you said, a lot of it is just their own fault.
Right. Yes, it is usually. And unfortunately, this gal before me, they were just taking these denials, paid zero and posting it and not investigating why. So you really have to be a detective and make sure if it's other than they don't have insurance, you need to fix it on your end so you can get paid. You're
Yeah,
really looking for every penny you can get.
sure. Well, the nice thing is that you get a percentage
Yeah,
of all that's collected. And so you want to collect every penny you can.
exactly. Yeah. You don't want to leave anything, and um, yeah, especially if it's fixable. Why would you not go through that exercise of, and that's the difference between maybe having an employee versus a contractor, because employees getting paid regardless. They're doing their job. They don't care. It's really just more work for them. So
Right.
I, I look at this like it's my money, because it really is my money.
Yeah, that's right. I look like I may be ignoring some of you folks who are typing questions because some of you are typing the questions in the chat window. That's for making, comments to me about, why don't you unmute yourself or whatever. But there's a Q&A button down there, which is what I usually focus on. Toby, I didn't mean to ignore your questions, but I think you asked those, looks like it was 417 when you asked, do you have a hard time finding a doctor? Well, in her case, Margaret, I don't think had a very hard time because she just did some of the stuff we taught her to do, like look on Craigslist and found those doctors, and then sent out a postcard, and got one of them. But you also asked what's the rate you charge for your client, and I think you said most of your standard rate is about 7%. Is that right,
It
Margaret?
is.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that's right there in the middle of what most people are charging. Now, here is a question a little bit more specific from Shirley. Shirley says, how many clients would you have to get a good business up and going?
Well, I guess it depends on how much you need to, what is your monthly net? What do you need to make every month? To pay your mortgage, to put food on the table, to go to
Yeah.
Hawaii. I go to Hawaii every year for a month. So I can take my business with me and still pay my mortgage at home. And so I'm a happy camper. So it's just a matter of how much money do you need? And then
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Shirley, I would recommend you go to our website. Down at the very bottom in the footnote kind of footer down there, you'll see a thing about an income calculator. Go there and plug in some of the numbers that we suggest, and you'll see that with one doctor doing just about 20 claims a day, you could get to the point where you can make more than what our license fee is from that one doctor. So we've had people tell us their return on their investment with their first client was in the first 6 months because you can bring in that kind of revenue. So it just depends. It's all up to you. We can't guarantee anything. Just like you see those weight loss ads, lose 100 pounds your first week. Not everybody does that.
Right. Yeah.
And so everybody's going to earn different amounts. James says, do you charge for a startup fee, and is it separate from the regular billing, or is it included?
So I didn't with this large practice because I was really convinced she knew what she was telling me was accurate, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. There's not going to be a lot of hiccups to, iron out. So, but I think it's more to protect you, to make sure that they're going to pay their bills. So I didn't ask for one with this one. So
Yeah, I've seen setup fees as high as $5,000, but it just depends on what services you're providing. Maybe you're doing the billing and you're also offering all of the other ancillary services or something, and they want, several of those. So
right, and
it'll
it's
always
fine.
vary as to what
Yeah.
that startup fee. But Danny, let's see who asked that question. It was James. James, that is always up to you. ABS doesn't set that startup fee, and if you don't want to charge one, that's fine. And it's all yours. Whatever you charge is yours. We don't get any of that. So, okay. Danny says, aside from the upfront payment of your license fee, what other overhead cost goes into owning this business? Margaret, what other regular
Gosh, it's
monthly
so
charges?
my webpage, I think, is $10 a month. And my phone, I think, so I have a local number here. I have a phone number for Hawaii. Um, so I think it's like $60 a month, and I can fax. I can do video conferencing. I have, voicemail. I have multiple lines. Um, so it's so minimal. Gosh, so what is that? 60, $70 a month is really my overhead, not counting what I pay Danielle.
Yeah.
But, right now she's a subcontractor to my company, ProMed. But we'll see how she does, because, she's got to watch to make sure she's pulling enough away to pay her tax bill at the end of the year, so that she doesn't go to mommy and say, hey, mom, did you pay this for me? So if she's not going to be disciplined to do that, then we're probably going to put her on this payroll, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and most people, I think, most of our licensees hire people on a contract basis, like you said.
Mhm.
So they have to handle their own taxes, basically.
Right.
But there are licensees who hire the people as employees, and they take care of everything, and so they're not probably paying them as much per claim or per hour or however they pay them. But again, that's all up to you, and we go in detail in that in our training. Um, Whoever asked about
Yeah,
that.
it's just a matter when you're setting up, what do you really want to do? What do you have those deductions at the end of the year, but if you don't need them,
Yeah,
especially your first year, you have all your expenses to, just your startup expenses to deduct. So, but get a good attorney. I'm not a good attorney. I'm a good accountant.
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
A good CPA who can help you
Absolutely. Yeah.
minimize your taxes is well worth whatever you pay them. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. When we first went into business, I remember a friend saying, do you have a good CPA? And I remember thinking, we can't afford a CPA. And I quickly learned you can't afford not to have a CPA. The mistakes were costly. So
That's right. That's
invest in
right.
a good CPA.
Yes, a good CPA. And by the way, Margaret, you don't even know this probably, but we're having a webinar here. Maybe it's either this Friday or next Friday for our owners like yourself, where we're actually hearing from a fellow who is one of our business owners, but also is a certified financial planner. And he offers a tax savings program where he can review what your situation is and see if there's a way to reduce your taxes. Most CPAs don't do that. They just handle the filing of your taxes.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Um, oh, Jasmine's asking, I think this is to me, how do you get started with your company? Is it on your website? Jasmine, by the way, this is being recorded, folks, and you'll get a link to the recording in your email probably tomorrow. So if you can't stay for the end, Jasmine, you might miss this, but I'm going to go into detail as to how you can get started with our company. That's part of every webinar. And Toby wants to know, Margaret, do you sign up a long-term contract with your doctors?
No, we have a 30-day notice clause. 30 days. I'm going to give her. What if I just get to decide I don't want to do this anymore? I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to give her 30 days notice. because this is her revenue. She needs this cash flow coming in, and they'll give her time to find somebody else. So, or if for some reason you're just not happy with each other, or so I have a 30-day clause. No, I'm not interested in having anybody stay with me that's not happy, because your life will be miserable.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
don't want anybody to stay with you if they're not happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I've heard any licensee lose a provider, a doctor client, because if you guys do what we teach you to do and follow our instructions and rely on our support team to help you, we can guide you through just about anything. So you will do a good job. The doctor will be happy because they will see an increase in their revenue. Many of them have written wonderful notes to our licensees about the fact that they were struggling to even stay in practice until they came in and took over their billing.
Yeah. I will tell you, we had one client that were surgeons. Both the husband and wife were surgeons. This is with our other company, and they had to file bankruptcy. This was before I became a biller. And I just remember thinking, wow, how did two surgeons go to, file bankruptcy? So it's, you don't know what you're doing out there, and they're good at what they do. They're brilliant at what they do, and they can't be expected to do everything else. There's not enough hours in the day, and you have to rely on people who know what they're doing and can provide those services to you, or you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So
yeah, it's amazing. Doctors obviously are very smart, but everybody I've ever asked that has worked for a doctor has said they're the worst business people in the world. They don't know how to run it as a business.
right.
And that's what a practice is, right? I mean, they have to payroll and they have taxes and insurance and all their expenses. And after that, they need to show a profit. And some of them just focus on what they do. And they
Right.
just do one surgery after another, and ignore that back end revenue and what's happening there, because they're trusting that their people in their office that's doing the billing is collecting every penny. But those people don't get any kind of reward for collecting more money. They think, well, the doctor's driving a Tesla and I'm driving a
Right.
Kia,
Right.
and so they don't care how much money
Exactly.
they collect. Yeah.
Nope. There's only some, they're thinking about what they got to do for dinner, if they got to pick up their kids. So and so is going on a field trip. They need to get that ready for them. Pick up their husband's laundry, whatever. They're busy people too, and they're not thinking about that. If this doctor doesn't make his monthly that he needs to, payroll can't get done, and taxes can't get paid, and it's just a whole domino effect. And once they get behind, it's only a matter of time before he runs out of his cash flow, or even if he has a line of credit at the bank, you can only do so much before you're out of business. So it's really
I don't know how much you've utilized our support people, Margaret, but have we been what we said we were going to be to you?
So responsive. So even if they don't have an answer right now, we're gonna, in 24 hours, they've gotten me the answer. They've connected me to whoever I need to speak with. So on the ball. It's so impressive. Yes. I could take lessons on responding as well as you guys do.
Well, thank you. I tell all of our support people, and by the way, we have over 100 people. People don't realize it, even though we're a small virtual company here in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. We've got people all over the country with our partners that actually do the support for our licensees. In addition to people like yourself, Margaret, who we pay as business owners to support other business owners in different parts of the country. I mean, it's a big network of people that want to help out other people.
Right. And if even if you're not calling in, there's the Facebook page. People are always very responsive. Everybody wants to help everybody. It really is encouraging.
That's a good point. I've never mentioned that here on this webinar, but folks, we have a group on Facebook that's a private group. You have to be an ABS licensee, but you can sign up for that. And I think we have over 200 of our business owners that are a part of that group, and they jump in there and they answer questions for one another and share resources and tips on how they got their clients. It's a great way to extend your information and knowledge about this business with other people. Plus, we have our licensee website, which is there 24/7 for people to go to. You guys go check it out at abslss.com. That stands for licensee support site, abslss.com. But you'll have to have a login, of course, to see most of it there, but you'll get a feel for what we do there. Okay, here's a question from Danny. Margaret, how much revenue did you generate? Oh, no, I'm not going to ask that question. They want to know how much you generated and what was your net income. Folks, we don't allow our licensees to answer those questions because I don't know, it's none of your business.
Yeah, is Uncle Sam listening?
Yeah, I mean, Danny, we don't know that you're not an IRS agent on here, so we're going to answer that question. But again, I encourage you to watch all of the webinars that I've done with owners like Margaret. They're out there on our website. I should say it's on our YouTube channel, and I'll give you that here at the end of the webinar in just a few minutes. By the way, we are wrapping up here, folks, and I'm going to let Margaret go in about 4 minutes.
I just tell her one thing. I will tell you that for the hours that I work, I'm making more money than I ever did working 9 to 5. Like I stopped to do the laundry. My kids are constantly calling me. I had lunch. I went for a walk today on the ditch. I have the luxury to work around what I want to do, and I'm making more than I ever did working a 9 to 5 job.
Well, thank you. I do have people who say they're making for the hours they put in, it's way above what you could get anywhere else. I'm talking 50, 60, $70 an hour for your time, because it just doesn't take that much time to file a claim, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Most of them are pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Oh, Nancy says, that's a very personal question. I wouldn't answer it either. Danny says, thank you for that answer. Yeah, that's the best we can do, folks. We try to be very careful about hyping something, because this is not a get rich quick business. I encourage you to look elsewhere if that's what you're looking for. You got to put in some time and effort, and for that time, you will be compensated very well. So if you can follow instructions, it's a no-brainer as far as the income revenue. Okay, so folks, if you have any other questions, I'm gonna look for the question box here. If you have another question, just throw it in there real quick. I want to ask Margaret one other thing, and that is, Margaret, why would you share these tips and valuable information and insight into this business with people that you don't even know? And some of them may be our business owners that are on here today.
Again, I think if you're looking, if you're looking for something different other than that 9 to 5 grind where you're killing yourself and you wake up finally at 65 and your career is over and you've killed yourself and you have nothing else. I mean, you can work hard and have a life on top of that. And there's enough business for everybody to go around for everybody. I mean, I don't know that I want any more business. This is really, I don't want to work any more hours really than I already am. And again, it's just, the world is changing too. I mean, people think they're safe working for an employer. You don't know where your employer is as far as how hard it is for them to. I mean, we had PPP money coming in. Maybe they weren't even going to make it without that money through the COVID pandemic. Do you really, people think they're secure in their employer, and there's no guarantees out there. And so,
there's no guarantee. I got a little pink slip right before my wife started this business. I was working for Apple Computer. They had a plant right out here in North Dallas. This is back in the 80s when the two Steves were still running the business. And I'll never forget that day that I got that little pink slip. They were moving the whole plant back to California, but I didn't realize that at the time. I thought I was just being, laid off. And it was traumatic because I was the only, breadwinner for the family at the time.
Yeah. So you never know. And you wouldn't get much notice either because employers are hanging on and they're going to hold on to their employees as long as they can in hopes that things turn around. So you never really know where you're at, especially in this economy, and things are getting really, really tight. And so if you could take advantage, what is that saying? Strike while the iron is hot, because the pandemic hit and there's a lack of labor force. So the pickings are ripe. Like, get out there, and it is the time to do it if you're going to do it.
It is. They need help, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, Margaret, thank you again for your time so much. I just can't thank you enough for helping me share your success with other people. Congratulations. I'm very proud of what you've done so far, you and your daughter. And I hope that you continue to grow and can continue to give her more work. Hopefully she's got more time and stops having all those babies,
Yeah. Come on, I want as many as I can have. That's the goal here.
I don't blame you. I've got 5 grandkids myself.
I do too. I have 5 too. So she has 3 and there's 2 others.
Oh, that's cool. All right, Margaret. Well,
All
be
right.
sure and
Thank you so much.
thank you. You're welcome. Be sure and just after you turn off your camera, well, you can just leave the whole webinar there and it'll shut everything off.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again. Hey, by the way, somebody asked if they would be able to contact Margaret directly in the future. She might be willing to take a phone call from somebody who's looking to get into the business. Once you're in the business, though, let me just show you here. I've got a slide that even illustrates some of the licensees that we have across the country. These folks are business owners just like Margaret. They've been through our training. They've built their business. They're running their business. They're making good money. And some of them have even volunteered to take phone calls from some of you and be coaches for you. Now, we compensate them. We, the company, we pay them for their time when they do get involved in helping other people, because we want everybody to be successful. Folks, as a company, we make money on the back end on all the claims that go through our system. So we do want you to be as successful as possible. That's why we don't charge any future support fees or upgrade fees or licenses or software or support or training, nothing. You never pay another dime once you've gone through our initial training and got your business up and going. So yeah, Toby, you could, Margaret might be one of those people that is you're able to talk to. Let me see, how do I stop this thing? I'm sorry, I lost my button here. I think it's right here. Okay, and let's see, Danny also says, would I be able to balance my full-time job and run this service part-time? Danny, most of the people who join us and go through our training are working a full-time job. I mean, there's a few that can just get this business started full-time, but most people start at part-time and just build it up, gradually until they can afford to quit and, replace that full-time income. So yes, the answer is yes. Now let's see, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our money back guarantee, because you know what? I don't think some of you believe, let's see, is this showing on the screen here? Not yet. How about that? Oh yeah. Okay, so you see this picture here. I showed this last week on our webinar, by the way, because this is one of our support centers. If you're wondering if we just leave you dangling once you get into this business, no. Like I said earlier, we have over 100 people nationwide from coast to coast, literally, that can help you with your business, our support personnel. But then we also have the business owners that I just showed you a picture of that can also help you with the coach you in getting the business started and so forth. Okay, and I see a lot of notes here to Margaret from you folks. Thank you. I will basically pass those notes on to her, thanking her for her time. Yeah, so let me talk about our money back guarantee, because folks, one of the most important things that I can tell you today is that if you are looking at starting a business like this and going to be paying a big upfront fee to somebody over the internet that you have never met, the best thing I can tell you to do is to do your due diligence, check those people out with the Better Business Bureau in their city, look for reviews online about that company. Folks, if we weren't doing what we said we were doing, we'd have all kinds of negative stuff out there on the internet, and we don't, because of the fact that, well, that's how we stayed around for 28 years. But in addition to that, a few years back, I added what we call our money back guarantee. It's a 100% money back guarantee. And that means if you start in this business and you decide that you don't like it for any reason, in the first 30 days, you have 30 days to make that decision, you can let us know and we will return your money to you. Now, how can we do that? Because yes, some people could take advantage of that if they wanted to, but it just doesn't happen. We've had literally a handful of people who've asked for their money back since we started that. And that's because as you go through our training, you'll see it's even better than we can convey to you on these webinars. I can only tell you so much in this hour each week. And that's why we do that money back guarantee. Okay, so let's tell you that there are 6 steps. You see them here on the screen. I'm going to go through them one by one. First, if you haven't got our research guide, be sure and ask your ABS rep for that. Now, how do you know who that is? Well, they sent you an email inviting you to this webinar. So search your email for something from absystems.com. There it is down at the bottom. Their email would be somebody at absystems.com. Or here's our phone number and an email that you can send right here and just ask us, who's my ABS rep? And how do I get this downloadable guide? It's over 65 pages of information that's nowhere to be found on the internet. And that's because it's proprietary information that we wanted to share only with people who are really serious about getting into the business. Number two, browse our YouTube. I mentioned that earlier. Here's the link right here. Can you see this? It's kind of tiny there, but it's called youtube.com/YABS. Yeah, just go check that out. You'll see there are literally hundreds of videos that we've done over the years that we've put out there on our channel. Many of them are interviews, just like you saw today, with other ABS business owners. And you can talk to some of those people, just like Margaret. We have a whole list of owners who've given us their permission to have you call them and ask them questions even before you join our network. So be sure and ask for that owners list. It's some of the people that you see here and probably 2 or 3 dozen other people that are on that list. Then if you haven't seen a demo of our live system, be sure and ask for that from your ABS rep. We'll get online with you, just like this guy here is online, showing a demo of our system and our software directly to you. Now, once you get into the business, you can actually ask us to do those demos for your doctors. Yes, and we don't charge anything extra for that. No, it's absolutely free for us to do that demo for your doctors. And folks, for the doctors that we've done those demos for, about half of them go ahead and sign up immediately, to work with our business owners. That's one of the things we do for you at no additional charge. Then, if you haven't seen our purchase agreement, ask your ABS rep to see that. It's only about 4 pages long, as you can see. Very straightforward. Our guarantee is outlined. What you get is outlined in there exactly, and so forth. And then last but not least, once you get that, oh, sorry, I didn't mean. Once you get that agreement, read it over. Tell us if you need any help with your funding. Get your funding to us, and we'll immediately set up an appointment with you with your trainer who's going to train you. Folks, our training is done online using Zoom and slides like you've been seeing today. The trainer is in their home office doing the training. They are business owners, just like I told you earlier. We only use our own owners to do this. So they've been certified to be trainers and train you in exactly how to run this business. And you can have another person on that training along with you. And they can be anywhere in the world on their computer as well. And so we'll let them set that up with you according to your schedule. I know everybody's schedule is different. So we just basically say to the instructors, get online with people and just find out when they can go through the training. Now, the training is 10 modules, and each one's about an hour and a half, about 90 minutes. So it'll take you, well, let me just put it this way. Most people can set this training up around their schedule so that they can work this in within the first 30 days. Again, it's only what, 10 times an hour and a half. That's 15 hours in it. Yeah, 15 hours of training. And so it's you do have some homework to do and so forth, but believe me, you can easily get through it in 30 days. And that's our money back guarantee. And you'll know during that time whether this is really what I say it is, or if it's just something that we made up out of our head. So get signed up as quick as you can. I'm going to leave this on the screen here. Thank you for being here. We do have another webinar next week. Go to our website. If it's not already up there, I think it is. Next week's topic is, how did the pandemic help medical billing companies? So if you're interested in that, even though I know the COVID is still in some parts of the country, it's kind of slowing down in a lot of parts of the country, thank goodness. But if you want to know more about that, just sign up for next week's webinar. We do these every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time. So I don't see any more questions. Thank you, folks, for being on here. My name is Patrick Phillips. I'm the founder of American Business Systems, and I thank you for your time today. If this is the right business for you and your family, I hope you'll move forward and take these steps.